Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you. Give us just a few minutes and we'll get started here. We're working out a few little details, so we'll be joining you and starting in just a moment. All righty, let's get going here. I want to welcome you all to our CAFS Town Hall. Colorado Association of Fairs and Shows is happy to welcome you here tonight. I believe we've got a great bit of information for you, as we have had in the past. We've really enjoyed doing these throughout this year, so I hope you guys are enjoying them. I hope you guys are preparing for what we hope is a great fair season. It looks like everybody's kind of hitting the ground running now. So we are excited that everybody is getting back to normal. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott from the Colorado State Fair, and he will introduce everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And I apologize, my internet's not great, so I'm using my cell phone for connection. So if I disappear, I'm still here. Today's program is not going to be probably as long as the ones we've had over the previous months that CAFS has hosted, but I think it's going to be very substantive, and it's going to guide folks into how to look at the stimulus funding that's designated for county fairs as the first priority. And Jennifer Gurr, who is the Department of Agriculture's Chief Administrative Officer, and she's been there for many years through many different economic times. I would say this is, and I'm sure she'll agree, another more unique time, just like 10 years ago or 12 years ago. But fortunately, the legislature has thought about county fairs through this rescue package, and Jennifer Gurr is here to kind of go through a very brief overview of what to expect from this funding, and a very important town hall next Tuesday also. So with that, I hope that Jennifer is able to take over and show her slides and start to talk to everybody.
Thanks, Scott, and thanks everybody for inviting me to join you tonight. I will go ahead and share my screen here. So I'm working on a slide presentation that is so this one is before our stakeholder listening session that we plan to have on the 22nd. So it's in rough form right now. So if there's typos and stuff on it, just bear with me a little bit. We were still working on this one just this afternoon. The department, and my slides are not progressing. There we go. The department has received a total of $76 million in stimulus funding that is designated for agriculture. So the slide here lists some of those different funding amounts and the different dollars that are going out. The agriculture events piece is the piece of the funding that I have become responsible for getting out the door and helping folks with. And so that is 35.5 million in total. We do have overall for the department, we do have a number of listening sessions scheduled starting next week. The one for this event will be on Tuesday at 4:00 p.m. And so there's many of you who probably already received the invitation for that earlier today. If not, I'll put my chat in here at the end and you can make sure that you reach out to me and I can get you that invitation. There is a registration required. They're just wanting to kind of see what kind of volume we're planning to have for those. But there's also an opportunity for you to provide feedback through a form that will be available on our website. And I'll also share that link with you here today. As needed, there may be some follow-up meetings and discussions on that in giving specifics on how to apply for the funding. So House Bill 1262 is the bill that gave the money for agricultural events. In that, it gave $2 million to ag event organizations. And this gave a focus to county fairs. $5 million is going to the Colorado State Fair and $28 million West Stock Show. And that is intended for event support as well as some construction at the Stock Show complex. Agricultural event organizations are defined in the bill as a nonprofit or for-profit organization that conducts one or more agricultural events in the state. Some of the considerations that we needed to put on this that were laid out in organizations that we're looking at. The impact that COVID-19 pandemic had on the event. The size of the organization, their availability to access other COVID relief funds, and then we are to prioritize local county fairs before awarding grants to other organizations. So we're going to start with the county fairs and then see where we go from there and loop in other ag events as the funding allows. There are some reporting requirements that we will have in that we'll need to report to the legislature on at the end of this year as well as the end of next year. And it will be just around how those payments were allocated, who received them and the amounts, the types of events that did receive them, and then we'll be looking for success stories. So as we go through this process, be keeping that in mind and send us those success stories so we have some good stories to tell about how this has had an impact across the state. So one of the things that we started looking at is with that county fair designation, we needed to work on a county fair definition. And so we pulled a lot of different resources, talked to a lot of different organizations for fairs across the country, and have a definition here that we've come up with. So it's an exhibition held for the purposes of disseminating knowledge concerning and encouraging the growth and prosperity of all agricultural, stock raising, horticultural, artistic, and other mechanical or industrial pursuits in a county or region. For the purposes of this stimulus package, county fairs must incorporate agricultural exhibits or shows, competitions for youth programs, and be recognized by one or more county commissions. So that ties to, it's a county affiliated event, and then it's a fair. So it's related to the kids and the youth and trying to promote agriculture. So I'll pause there because this is one of the things that we really want some input and feedback on, is what the thoughts are on those definition of county fairs, and if there's other things we should be considering in that as well. And I don't know if in this format, does everybody have the opportunity to unmute and speak up, or?
Yes, everybody would have the opportunity to unmute on this one.
Okay.
One question I got real quick, just kind of, I know one that will probably pop up, is that we have some county fairs that are independent organizations that they are not supported by the county commissioners. How does that fall into this definition.
That would not, and that's a good point, because we don't want to leave those out. So is there a way that we can tie them in to make sure that they're included? And then maybe it's just removing that recognized by the counties?
Because like, I know Teller County, for example, they are an independent organization. They're recognized by the county as the county fair, but they are not tied to the county. They receive no funding from the county. It's all an independent event.
Okay, and I'm thinking that recognized may get that. So if the county recognizes them as their county fair, I think they would fit that.
I think having the recognition, this is Chris Ashby from the ranch in Loveland. I think having the recognition by the county is a good requirement. I think otherwise you could end up with a very broad definition of fairs. You could have an antique fair, for example. So I think having that recognized by the county commissioners, it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be financially supported, but at least the county commissioners recognize it as the county fair is an important requirement.
Okay.
Do any of our other attendees have any comments on how their fair would fit into this definition?
Okay, we'll keep moving, and certainly you can reach out to me afterwards if you have some more thoughts around that, or join our listening session on the 22nd as well. So it might be very similar to this, but you're welcome to join and provide feedback there as well. So now the next big question we have is how we allocate these funds. So as I covered a little bit earlier, it's not the legislation of what those requirements are. There was some parameters that we should consider. So this is an idea, and certainly want feedback on this as well, but trying to look for equitable ways to distribute that funding. So one of the thoughts was we take the average revenue from the last 3 years of events. So we would assume 17, 18, and 19, but if for some reason you didn't have a fair one of those years, you could expand that out for 3 years. So just average what your revenue would look like. Then take your losses from 2020. Then we do need to consider any other relief funds that have been received. So those would need to be looked at as well and considered in a part of this. But then we would cover a percentage of the loss based on available funding. So from what you had, your average revenue for the previous 3 years, what you lost in 2020, and then see what percentage of funding we may be able to cover. Hopefully aiming for 100%, but depending on what is out there and what we receive, we may be able to fund at 80% or 50%. So any feedback or thoughts around that idea or any other ideas that you may have for how we could distribute these funds?
Is the loss specific to the fair or for the facility overall for the year?
We were looking at specifically
Fairgrounds
for the fair.
run year round. So is it fair specific?
We were considering fair specific, yes.
I do have a question here that came across the chat. What if your county fair is coming up sooner rather than later? Are these fundings for basically, when is the funding going to be handed out, and is it based off of, is this year have anything to do with it?
Not this year's fair, no. So, and it is a relief payment. So it doesn't, we're not going to put requirements on what it has to be spent on. It's a relief payment, so it can be used for whatever the fair deems necessary. In a future slide, I'll get to kind of the plan and the timeline, but just since the question was asked, we do realize that fairs are coming up very quickly. We want to get the money out quickly. Unfortunately, the legislature did not end till later in the year than normal this year. Instead of ending in May, they ended in June. This was one of the bills passed at the very end of the session. We're still waiting for signature to get that funding. So we're trying to get all the plans put together and figure out how we're going to move forward so we can get the money out the door quickly. We're anticipating by the end of August, if not sooner. Knowing that there's county fairs that start in July, So we would want to push this as quickly as possible, but that's also a question for feedback a little bit later, is how quickly do you think that you all would be able to pull the data and get applications submitted?
I have another question, Jennifer. What if our county fair has no revenue from 17, 18, 19? We provide a service, I guess you would call, and we have a concert and rodeos and stuff, and they're all very expensive, and yeah, we never make any money on an event.
It's a good question. I don't have an answer for you, but something good to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is Tom Tim from Phillips County. I'm the commissioner here in Phillips County. Question, kind of what he was just talking about. Our fair has pretty much broke even over the years, and so that means we wouldn't be eligible for any of the money if we had a break even.
Yeah, that's good and something to consider. Is this the best model to use for that? And you know, hearing those things, maybe it's not.
You might consider gross revenue versus net revenue. So if you lost a lot of revenue that you might have brought in from the midway, and that offsets your expenses, so you end up at zero at the end of the year, you might be able to offset your loss of what you might have brought in from the midway or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So I had another question come in on this. If your fair doesn't have a gate or vendor charge, but instead you rely on a county budget for your fair's revenue, would you still be eligible?
It might create some uniqueness in how we have to gather that financial information, but I believe that they would be eligible as well.
Because I think a lot of the rural counties out in eastern Colorado operate in this format, where it's a free fair basically, but they rely on the county budget to fund their fair. So I think that's where the question is going to lie. Something to think about.
That's a good one. Any other questions or feedback? I really appreciate that input, because I'm not in the business you all are, so it's very helpful to hear those questions and get some thoughts flowing on, is this the way to go, or how else maybe we need to look at it.
Yeah. I got another comment that came in that said gross revenue needs to be used. Small fairs do not make money. So.
Okay.
And I can share this chat with all these questions with you, Jennifer, so that you can have this to refer back to as well.
That's great. Thank you. I do keep looking down because I'm taking notes as we go as well.
Well, it's showing to me as privately, so I don't know if they're coming across all the way or not. So.
Okay. So moving along, so our process would be that we would create a Google form. So we want this to be really simple and easy to apply for. It's not going to be like applying for any federal grants or any of those other fun things. I don't know if you've ever applied for those, but this is going to be designed to be a very easy, very simple to use Google form. We would provide a template for providing that information. So the gross versus the net, all those pieces, if we continue to go this route, we would include in that. There would be the ability to attach additional documents there. I don't know as there's going to be a lot of additional documents needed. You know, I don't want to receive all your financial papers that we need to pour through. So we're just looking to gather some basic information. There would need to be an attestation included with that. So someone just attesting to the validity of those dollars, the numbers that you're providing are true and accurate numbers. And then we would include a W-9 with that. And that's something that the state needs in order to expend any of those dollars. So we would include that up front to just facilitate the process and make that a little bit quicker when we get to the end of being able to get the money out the door. And then our timeline, again, was looking at an application deadline very quickly. My original thought was the end of June, but that does is just a short week away. So looking at July 15th, and then getting the funds distributed as quickly as possible, but no later than the end of August. And then completing our report with any success stories by the end of October. So really hoping to get that feedback again from all of you so that we could include that in our final report. So my question here is, does July 15th seem reasonable? Is that giving people enough time, do you think, or do we need to make that a little bit longer? And the thinking there is we'd need to have them all in by that date so that we could figure out what percentage we're going to be able to fund on those losses and get the money out. Thumbs up is the one I see. Thanks.
I'm seeing July 15th is good, so.
Okay, well, and I know you have fairs coming up too, so I know you're going to have a lot of other things going on.
But also too, I think that gives them, if they know that they have to do it, it can be completed before their fairs really start, because that's about the time fairs are starting to kick off.
Okay. And there's the possibility of making it shorter. I mean, you know, maybe the 7th of July or something, which would be a little bit shorter, but maybe could get the checks out a couple weeks earlier as well. So.
I know it doesn't seem like a whole lot of information is needed, really. And I know my accounting would have no problem getting that out fairly simple, and especially if it's a Google Doc, that like less than a day's work. So.
Yep, that's the hopes. And then kind of the final slide I've got here is other agricultural, well, I guess it's not my final, but other agricultural events. So what other events should be considered? Are there things out there once we take care of county fairs, because that's supposed to be our priority in the bill? How do we open that up to other agricultural events? And I know there are lots and lots of them out there. So just kind of looking for feedback as well on what that looks like and what we may want to do there. Okay, and then kind of my last slide is just any final thoughts or anything else. We will be getting a page up on our website. It was not there when I checked right before jumping on this Zoom call, which has a lot of information. And there will be a form where you can submit any additional comments. You know, we know that everybody may not be able to make a listening session. Sometimes people aren't just comfortable speaking up in those, and I don't know what kind of volume we'll have at our next session on Tuesday. So it may be hard to get feedback from everybody, but we're just wanting to give that opportunity to let you have input in other ways as well. So I've stopped sharing, and then I will put in chat the Google form there and my email address as well. So if you have additional questions or input you'd like to provide, you can do so. If you were not invited to, if you didn't get an invite from me for that meeting on the 22nd and would like one, I'll put my email in there. So just shoot me an email and then I can get that out to you as well. Anything else?
This is Scott from State Fair. One thing I just wanted to add for all the county fairs, I really think it's important that county fairs help share this message with other county fairs, because the county fairs are the first in line for this money, but if there's not enough county fairs that apply, then it'll get opened up to other types of ag events. And I really think this is an opportunity for county fairs to support the network across the state of county fairs.
I agree. And I think that with the group of people here sharing it, obviously we'll get information and we'll be sharing it as best we can with our email list and getting information from Jennifer and the CDA. And we will share as much information with all of our email lists, all of our membership, so that you guys do have that first opportunity to get in there. And because like she said, I do believe it's going to be a very quick process. So does anybody else have any other questions for Jennifer?
I have one. So if we get funds back for our losses, is there going to be any requirements on how we spend that?
No requirements on how you spend it.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Well, Jennifer, on behalf of the Colorado Association of Fairs and Shows, I appreciate you joining us here tonight. I think this is valuable information. Thank you, Scott, for putting this together and organizing this. This really can help out a lot of county fairs that struggled the last year and even into this year. I know this year is still going to be a difficult year for some of these county fairs, but we hope we're on the right direction back to amends. So I do appreciate you being here and sharing your information with us. And if anybody, Scott, do you have anything else?
No, just I think I just want to represent the programming committee. I think we appreciate all the support. I don't think we do appreciate all the support. People attending these throughout the winter and spring. With fair season coming up, I would assume that we're probably going to take a break until after Labor Day on these, unless there's a subject that really needs to be addressed. So I would say send in a message if there's an issue out there that you think the network of Colorado Fairs needs to talk about through one of these sessions.
Absolutely. Our program committee has been hard at work with all these webinars, plus planning for our convention in November. So please make sure you're paying attention and joining us for the convention in Colorado Springs in November 1st, and I don't remember the dates. But please make sure you're keeping aware of that. You can visit us at coloradofairs.org and get all the information on the convention and everything else. And thank you, Scott. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks to the program committee. And thank you all for joining us tonight. Like you said, this one was a little bit shorter than we normally do, but I think it was great information. So,
Jeremiah, the convention is November 5th and 6th.
November 5th and 6th. Thank you, MJ. My brain's a little tired.
And we take late here. Somebody wants to know when the forms will be ready and available to share.
I don't have an answer for that yet because we still need to do the listening session and finalize our plan for how we distribute those funds. So I'm not sure how quickly, that's part of the July timeline, is kind of trying to figure out how quickly we can get that completed and get it out.
I would say maybe, Angie, do you, is this something that the people can sign up to the distribution list if they're not on the distribution list? Because that might be a great way to get it out. I know a lot of people here do get all the emails, but some might be on here because somebody shared this actual session with them. Is there a place to steer people to sign up for that?
Yes, so our list includes our membership, but we also have a non-membership list too. So I will be able to share with all.
I think he was asking where they could sign up for that, Angie. Can they go to the website to sign up?
Oh, gotcha. Yes, so we can do that for sure. Yes.
I'll put a link to our website in the chat.
And I just realized that I had sent only my message to Scott and not to everybody. So I am now sharing with you all the link to the form where you can provide more feedback, as well as my email address.
Thank you. We will share that link on our website and with our video that we send out. So, all right. Does anybody else have anything? All right. On behalf of the Colorado Association of Fairs and Shows, once again, I thank you. Look forward to seeing you in November. And everybody have a great fair season if we don't talk to you before then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.